name is Devin Gallagher, and I'm a nuclear engineer with Dominion Energy. So this is a design for a pressurized water reactor, which is what all of our plants, all of our 7 nuclear plants at Dominion are. Nuclear is just another type of thermal energy. So it doesn't matter if it's geothermal or if it's coal, natural gas, all of this is all the same. So you boil water into steam. Steam will travel up here, it's going to turn a turbine. The turbine turns a generator, it's kind of a reverse motor, and then that will produce your electricity. What makes nuclear different is how we produce that heat. So we have a nuclear core. This contains your fuel assemblies, your fuel rods, your control rods. As you pull the control rods out, they'll stop absorbing neutrons. The neutrons will interact with uranium atoms. Yeah, uranium atoms will become unstable, they'll break apart, they'll release an enormous amount of heat. And more neutrons that will continue the chain reaction. That's what makes nuclear different. Nuclear makes up 40% of our electricity in Virginia. We're lucky enough to have 4 nuclear plants. And it's the only large-scale, always-on, clean power source in the world.
Hi, my name is Jake Littlepage, and I work for the Probabilistic Risk Assessment Group for Dominion Energy. And today what we have for you is a PWR Westinghouse design of a fuel assembly. What's inside this fuel assembly is you'll see there's a configuration of 15 by 15 of these fuel rods. And inside of these fuel rods are little uranium pellets.
One of the things that makes nuclear such a wonderful option is its energy density. A nuclear plant that produces 1,100, 1,500 megawatts only takes up about 1.3 square miles, and that's because the energy density of the source we're looking at. And that's because our energy source is so dense. So this is a plastic version of a uranium ceramic fuel pellet, uranium-03, and that is equivalent to 1 ton of coal, 2,000 pounds of coal, or 1,700 cubic feet of natural gas, or 3 barrels of oil.
For our fuel assemblies, they're typically 10 to 13 feet tall. They'll go inside of the reactor vessel, and a reactor vessel will typically have about 150 of these fuel assemblies inside. They'll go inside for there, and they'll go through these like refueling outages that we have, and we recycle, kind of reshuffle the core, and they'll stay in there for about 4.5 years. From there, then we'll take them and we'll put in the wet storage, which is our spent fuel pool. They'll stay there for about a 3-year period to cool off, and then we'll remove them from there and put them in our dry cast storage system that we have. Currently in the US, there's the debate of going either the reprocessing route or going for the long-term dry cast storage system, but only the future will decide what we go with.
By 2050, we need to get to net zero carbon. That's the goal. Between now and 2050, in that intervening 30 years, the electricity demand over the globe is expected to increase by 125%, so it's more than double. Most of that's going to be because of population increase, and then developing countries are going to be modernizing. The carbon footprint over a nuclear's life cycle for a whole nuclear plant, from mining to decommissioning, is actually about equivalent to solar and wind. And it produces power, rain or shine, summer or winter, no storage required. Nuclear also helps to keep the grid stable. So this is something that you get from sources of energy that run on large turbines. And there have to be turbines that are tied directly to that 60 hertz grid frequency. Nuclear has large turbines. If that grid frequency changes by even 0.5 to 1 hertz, so hertz is that alternating current frequency that you get in the grid, you actually risk these cascading blackouts, so we're starting to see a little bit more in Europe. And despite what Hollywood will dramatize, nuclear actually has an incredible safety record when you look at it in terms of per terawatt hours produced. And it's a safety record that I'm personally very proud of. Right now, nuclear energy supplies 10% of the world's electricity. In the US, it's actually 20% and makes up over half of our low carbon sources in the United States. It's about 55% of our low carbon is actually nuclear. We need to continue towards maximizing our deployment of renewables. This has to happen. It's very important. Right now, solar and wind make up about 7% of our renewables in this country, so globally as well. And then there's about another 7% for hydropower. Hydropower is about tapped out. Unfortunately, there's some efficiencies there, but we've pretty much dammed up all the rivers that we can dam at this point. So if you discount nuclear, you have to expect solar and wind to go from 7% up to that 93% level, and then double it over the next 30 years, and then replace all your transportation electricity needs. And that's just unrealistic. Nuclear is the only low carbon, always on, scalable source of electricity. And we can do it. France and Sweden built up their nuclear energy sectors in just about 15 to 20 years. And now both France and Sweden produce almost all their electricity from low carbon sources. France is actually a world leader. They get 75% of their energy from nuclear power, and they have one of the lowest costs of energy production in the world. So to me, they're an example to be followed. James Hansen, he was the NASA scientist who testified before Congress on global warming in 1988. He was one of the first whistleblowers on climate change before a lot of people even knew what that word meant. He recently shifted his energies from alerting the public on global warming, now that we're finally kind of getting on the ball, like we're here today, to championing the importance of nuclear power in that global solution. I found an article from his that he wrote a little while ago. In it he said, quote, "Alongside renewables, nuclear will make the difference between the world missing its crucial climate targets or achieving them." Thank you for having me here today. I'm really excited to talk to you about something that's so important to me.